How do I heal? I understand that I am not my body or my brain. Pure spirit, the unchanging you, is not marred by anything that happens to this body and brain. We misidentify with our parts, with our body and brain. Instead of seeing our body brain as our vehicle or our property, the body is constantly changing. This body is constantly changing. Our neurons, our memories, our brains are constantly changing. Our personality, the physical wiring in our brains is the result of what we perceive happened to us and our response to it, our stories. But they are all changeable. The past is not immutable. It doesn't continue to exist, and we don't have to live in it. This field of science is neuroplasty, the ability of our brains to change. We can create new memories. We can go back and heal completely. We can even rewire a memory or dissolve an emotion, because this body isn't really me. We can repaint it, swap out the engine for a faster, more efficient one, and it will still be our vehicle. In fact, this is not even the same body that experienced those abuses. Science has discovered that every cell in our body is replaced within 7 years, and most cells have a much faster turnover rate. I have a totally new body at least twice over since those abuses happened. You are a pure being, but you're an energetic. You are energy, but your brain is your filter for all your experiences. And it has a lot of wrong, inaccurate, and even evil programming that was uploaded by other people. You think of your brain as being you, but you didn't program it. Who programmed it? What we think of as our body, our personality, and our character is simply a combination of other people's DNA and beliefs and habits mixed with our own experiences and how we encoded them, the beliefs we created about those experiences. You didn't upload it, so why not delete the false code and rebuild it with something that will get you where you want to be? When a traumatic event happens to us, our brain will encode an interpretation of the event based on the knowledge it has available. For example, I was traumatized as a baby when my mother went on a long business trip. My baby brain encoded it as abandonment, so terrifying that I was overwhelmed with anger and fear. However, as an adult, when I used the techniques described below, I could clearly distinguish that trauma from what actually happened. My mother had no intention of abandoning me. She had to go away for a while and left me in the care of my father, who I actually didn't know at the time. He'd just shown up, and a reasonably competent caregiver. What I experienced and the traumatic effect it continued to have on my life, my reactions, my relationship with my mother, and my ability to trust was real and damaging. I developed defense mechanisms that were automatically triggered even when such a fear-based reaction was completely inappropriate for an adult. My interpretation of that experience was based on the knowledge I had as a 6-month-old baby, not as an adult. As our knowledge is not complete, our brain can often come to the wrong conclusions. Our brain then creates a defense mechanism to protect us from what it perceives as future dangers. These are our coping mechanisms. They can be both helpful and harmful. When we find ourselves unable to move forward in certain areas, it's often because our brain is continuing to act out the wrong conclusions that our child mind came to when it experienced the trauma. The coping mechanism is stopping our forward progress. Healing is a change. If you do not change, you have not healed. If your reactions, responses, and results have not changed, you have not healed. We're talking about emotional healing. Healing is not just feeling better, right? You can take a pill and feel better for a while without having cured the underlying wound. This is what all forms of addiction are for, including being a workaholic and a perfect mother or a perfect father, or binging on Netflix or stimulants, right? All these forms of addiction, they are coming from trying to cover up a core wound that we have. I should know I used to binge on romance novels and romance movies whenever I was feeling deep emotional pain until it passed. I let the emotion of the novel take over my emotions and shift them. That was fine as a short term coping mechanism. It allowed me to shift my emotional state to where I could respond purposefully rather than react. But it did not deal with the underlying cause of the pain that was happening in my relationship. It just numbed it for a while. It would still come back. Part of healing is identifying the inaccurate conclusions you came to as a result of that trauma and creating your new, accurate, and logically helpful actions and beliefs. Then it takes intention and practice to apply the new action until it becomes your new normal. The healing takes place in your heart and your mind, but the change is in your actions.